Ever had a twinge of anxiety when it comes to unexpected events? Perhaps it's a storm, an evacuation, a vehicle breakdown, or possible civil unrest where you live? Well, having a go bag can do wonders to help you be prepared, but also to help you think straight and to feel calm, or at least calmer, about that event. A go bag can also act as a stay bag in the event that you are in a grid down kind of a situation and you need to hunker down. But what if you're stranded away from your go bag in the event of an emergency? I'll talk about that at the end of this video. My wife and I decided to pull out our go bags to update items that have expired, as well as to make sure that everything that's in there is what we needed. Here's a list of the items that we keep in our go bag, roughly in the order of importance, starting with hydration. Water is really one of the most important things that you can have in your go bag. And this might take the form of filtration, purification, or physical water bottles. The important part is you need enough for about 3 days, so this is 3 1-liter bottles. Next up, food. Food is a little bit more flexible, but it needs to be as non-perishable as possible. We have energy bars, freeze-dried meals, and pouch tuna, like I said, enough for 3 days. Next up is a first aid kit. You need bandages, antiseptic, pain relievers. Be prepared for minor injuries. Next, as I said, in order of importance, is emergency blankets. You need to stay warm and protected from the elements. Another important aspect of a go bag is a way of perhaps starting a fire. And there are a lot of different ways, from the good old-fashioned book of matches to a magnesium starting rod. A multi-tool is great. It's useful in cutting, in prying. There's a lot of different ways that you might not even realize that a multi-tool could save your life. Next up is medication. In a perfect world, you would be able to have an extra supply of medication that you're able to just place in your go bag and then update as you need. But that's not likely something that most of us can do. If you have a chronic condition that requires medication, the best you might be able to do is leave a spot in the top of your go bag so that when you're running out the door, you can put it in your go bag. But if you aren't able to have an extra stash of medication, while not perfect, you could include herbal remedies that are known to at least alleviate some of the symptoms of your chronic condition. Like I said, it's not perfect, but it might make things a little bit better until you're able to arrive somewhere where you can take your medication or you can get new medication. This might require that you keep a copy of your prescriptions with you in your go bag, and we'll talk about documentation later. Pretty obvious benefit is having a flashlight and batteries for that flashlight, especially if you need to evacuate when it's dark and you're on foot. But having light is a pretty obvious benefit. A cell phone charger. Nowadays, it's pretty much a requirement to have one of these in your go bag. Just make sure you have the cell phone charger that lines up with your current phone. It seems like they change quite a bit, so that's an important detail to double check. A change of clothing is a really important thing to have in your go bag. This would include underwear, socks, and general clothing. Now, it could make it so that you put those clothes on so that you can wash the clothes that you are evacuating in. You might just need an extra layer of clothing to put on underneath or over the clothes that you had on. Also, make sure that you have a pair of gloves. When I was talking about medication, I mentioned prescriptions that might be beneficial if you need to get a prescription somewhere else to the area that you evacuated to. But documentation is also a pretty broad topic that is going to apply differently to everyone. So it could mean a copy of your passport, a copy of your driver's license, documents that are important to you that you will need whenever you arrive at the evacuation location. On top of that, it might be a good idea to have a little bit of cash stored in your go bag. The pretty handy thing that we keep in our go bags are compressed towels and soap flakes. They take up very little space, but it's amazing the amount of benefit that being able to at least towel off a little bit, clean up a little bit, can have on your mental state when you're in a rough situation. The next item in our go bag is offline media. Are there types of media that you would really like to have with you? Perhaps it's books, magazines, movies, music that you would like to have access to that will keep you motivated, keep you uplifted. Well, in order to do that, you're going to need perhaps an old cell phone that you have loaded with that library. You've downloaded the actual files. You don't require any additional streaming or downloading. And then what you do is you take that phone and you make sure you have a charger for that phone. It's probably an older style charger. And then you wrap that phone in aluminum foil and you stick it in your go bag so that you have that media when you need it. Now, bringing a cell phone presents a pretty obvious problem. You're going to need to charge it, and if you're evacuating, that might not be very easy. Well, I actually have a couple solutions for that conundrum. I actually have a camp stove that's made by BioLite that has a USB charger on the camp stove that's charged from heat. Pretty amazing. But there's other simple solutions for that problem, as simple as a solar panel or a hand crank radio that has a USB out connection on it. Now, on top of all of these things, I like to keep a USB power bank that I can use to power the phone for an extended period of time. Now, this can be charged with all of the aforementioned methods, the crank radio, the solar panel, or the BioLite stove. Next up, a non-GPS way of finding your route to another location. So this means a physical paper map and a compass. Lastly, in our go bags, we have inventory lists of the contents of both of our bags so that we know where and what is in our bags. And we keep this at the very top of the go bag. Okay, so a pro tip that can make your life a lot easier is storing all of your expirable items in a Ziploc together at the top of your bag. And then have that near your inventory list. And what that does is it makes it possible for you to very easily update your go bag without having to take everything out like we just did. You check your go bag, you check your list of expirables, they're right there on the top, you look through them, you change out the things you need to, and you're done. And then that way, your bag is always ready to go. The more you know, the better. So make sure you actually know how to use the items that you brought in your go bag. This might mean make sure you include the instructions, but it also means just general know-how. Do you know how to start a fire with those tools? Do you know how to use your water filtration? It's important that you not discover that you have a defective item or a broken item, or you have the wrong item when you really need it. Yeah, but what if you're stranded far away from your go bag when you really need it? Well, while not perfect, there is a solution. A mini survival kit. Now, the trick with these mini survival kits is they need to be really, really small. Small enough for you to stash them in each of your vehicles so that you have a better chance of having the basics with you when you need them. Now, my family gave me this pretty epic one made by a company called Vessel, but you can also go online and find small kits that have basically everything that you would need, just not a lot of it, for your mini survival kit. Now, these are going to have the same things. They're going to have water filtration or purification. They're going to have a means of starting a fire. They're going to have an emergency blanket, as well as maybe some basic emergency medical supplies. It might also be a good idea for you to include some protein pills or some good old-fashioned protein bars in that kit. So there you go. These are all things designed to help us at least get by until we can get to a safer location, be it a 3-day supply, or in the case of a mini survival kit, maybe it's a few hours or a day or so. Well, if you have any questions about this, feel free to leave them in comments below, and I'm curious what works for you. What do you have in your go bag that you think is really important? Well, As always, if you liked this video or it was useful to you, you might like these.